Welcome to the live stream on Wednesday. It's 1 p.m. Pacific time. I am Mary Rosewood, now apparently fully audible, which is super helpful. I have a really expressive face. People have always told me that, but still, it's nice to hear what I have to say. If in fact, that's what you've come here to do. I don't want you to go away frustrated. So listen, let me start over. What's our topic today? How much storytelling can three little words hold? Now, I'm not going to talk about the three little words that we all think of first, which is I love you, because I love you all. And there's a lot of storytelling that's based on those three little words, but those are not the three little words I'm talking about today. I am talking about three super iconic words brought to you by the advertising geniuses who worked for Nike, the sneaker company in the 1980s, who came up with a truly iconic ad slogan, which is just do it. Now, unless you've truly been living under a rock, you've heard of the Nike ad slogan, just do it. It is truly iconic. It's been around literally for decades, and it's still recognizable, and I think they still use it. I think it's still going strong, all right? But I want to say, even though that's the inspiration for today's talk, this is not a talk about advertising, although storytelling in advertising is an interesting topic. This is a talk about how we as writers of fiction can learn something from the incredible amount of story energy, of pure storytelling that is compressed and packaged and delivered in those three tiny little words. It's unforgettable, it's effective, it's irresistible. I mean, it really has some magic about it, right? Well, the magic is story energy. And there's something that we absolutely can learn, I'm going to argue today, that we can learn to do that in our writing as well, to pack that level of compressed story energy in not only every page, every paragraph, and every sentence. That's a fun thing to learn. So that's our topic today. Let me do a super quick introduction in case there are folks here who don't know me. I'm Mary Rosewood. I am an author. I am a published author of 14 traditionally published novels, all with Big Five publishers. And I'm also the founder of Path of the Storyteller, which is my own platform for teaching and mentoring writers who want to bring their work up to pro level. We offer courses. We have a flagship program called Path of the Storyteller, which is a 16-week program that takes you through story structure and writing craft. It is in-depth and life-changing. It certainly has changed my life. I think, I'll let those of you who are here from the program, share how it may have changed yours. But it's a really special program. We're running it right now. We have an incredible cohort of students this fall. I'm just so crazy about them all. And we're going to be running it again in January. So if you're already thinking ahead to your goals for next year, you might want to reach out and get a little more information about Path of the Storyteller program. Path of the Storyteller is just so near and dear to me. And tomorrow, we're actually going to be having our very first Zoom live Q&A for the students in the Making Scenes, a Guide for Fiction Writers course. And so let me just, for a moment, let you know, if you don't know about Making Scenes, it is a small, targeted, self-paced course, 7 lessons, but super step-by-step and clear about how to write a scene. And you can, enroll in the course, you get access to the whole thing right away. And then if you do that now, then you too will be invited to tomorrow's live Zoom call with me answering questions about this. So I just wanted to remind you that you still have time to get in time to be invited to tomorrow's Zoom call. That's going to be really fun. Live Q&A, all about writing scenes. All right. I'm tempted to say, just do it. But, that is a trademarked slogan. And so I don't want to, be accused of stealing Nike's thunder. But I do want to share with you how I got inspired to talk about this topic today. I was in an inspiring location. I happen to live quite near the beach, which is, a great privilege. It's really sweet. And there's a harbor with boats and seals running around and swimming in the water and hanging out and, making that beautiful seal noise that they make, sort of barking. It's just very tranquil and peaceful. And I met a friend for coffee over the weekend. We're sitting in this idyllic location. My friend's a very gifted filmmaker, and he often does as filmmakers do, commercial work for clients, work that's intended to basically tell a story, the kind of story designed to persuade, to tell a story about a brand, to get someone to buy a product, whatever it is. You know how advertising works. And he was talking about I guess it was a conversation that they had at his job about this iconic slogan of just do it and why it was so powerful. And it really is, if you think about it, if you're in the advertising industry, it's sort of a holy grail, isn't it? I mean, who could come up with something that has that kind of magic? How do you know that it's going to work as well as it does? And did they know when they put it out in the world that, decades later, it would be sort of part of the language, be kind of a buzzword. And I, of course, as you can imagine, just said, me, I can tell you why. I can tell you why it works so well. And he said, why? And I said, it's the hero's journey. It's story structure. And he said, it is? And I said, yeah. We kind of went on a little riff about it. So it's been in my mind since then. And the idea has kind of grown. And of course, I'm always thinking, how can we benefit? What can we learn, those of us who write fiction? So before I unpack just do it, which is 3 little words, but I managed to get 5 takeaways from it for you. So, hang on to your horses about that. Let me just quickly, and I mean quickly, remind anyone who might be new to the idea, maybe new to this YouTube channel, new to this kind of training. When I say story structure, what I mean by it. I'm going to do it super quick because I know a lot of you know already. So story structure is the shape of a narrative, and it involves a main character whom we call the hero, because I take inspiration from a concept called the hero's journey that was developed by Joseph Campbell, a great person to Google and look up if you're a curious type, which I bet you are. So we've got a hero on a journey of transformation, and this journey involves a lot of different types of experiences, but they are difficult experiences for the most part. So we take a character who's in one state of being that is not their final form. It's insufficient in some way. They are either incomplete, they haven't fully expressed their potential, or they're in a situation that's unsustainable in some way. And some opportunity to have an adventure, if you will, comes their way. They go on this adventure, and it's filled with tests and obstacles, trials and revelations, as Joseph Campbell would put it. And at the end of this difficult journey, they have been changed. And not just randomly changed, but changed in exactly the sort of way that their original condition kind of suggested was most needed. All right. So that's the shape of storytelling. Joseph Campbell wrote a lot about this, how really all of the stories that we are familiar with that come down to us have this kind of shape. It's a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's a hero in an original condition in the beginning. That I need for change is established and embarked upon. Then there's the middle, which is this difficult adventure filled with obstacles. And each of those obstacles forces the hero to grow and change and learn. And then we get to the end where the hero is quite different than they were in the beginning. And we get to see them demonstrate who they have grown into. It's very satisfying, A middle without a beginning is not so satisfying. A beginning and a middle without a satisfying ending, forget it. We hate stories like that. You really need all 3 parts. So it's really a structure, okay? So that's it. That's what I mean by story structure. It's super simple. So there's 3 parts. You might also notice that a sentence has 3 parts, typically, grammatically. It has a subject, and it has a verb, and it has an object often, okay? Now, I'm not going to give a grammar lesson because we're just talking about just do it. But I just want to, remind you that sentences have parts too with different functions, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So just do it. Well, if a hero is necessary, if there has to be a central figure in any story, what story is just do it telling? Who's the hero of this little mini story? Well, one of the brilliant things about this, of course, is that it addresses the listener. If it were a written story, it would be the reader, right? Just do it. It's talking to us. If it were in a novel, we'd call it an intrusive narrator, right? And it's not a novel, it's an ad slogan. And so it's talking to the prospective customer, it's talking to the whoever out there. In a sense, if I encounter a billboard and it says just do it, it's talking to me. And so I am the hero of whatever story is being told to me. It's being situated instantly that I'm the hero of it. Now, as a writer, when you write, that's your reader we're talking about. Okay, your reader is the like recipient in a sense of the story energy that you're creating. And so this is the very first takeaway that I want to offer you from Just Do It, which is that there is a hero in your story, there is a central figure, and the relationship between that hero and your reader is paramount. Now, does that mean that you have to write as a choose your own adventure story where your reader is essentially the main character? No, it doesn't mean that. Although I'm sure some of you can think of examples of things that are written that way. We've got like video games are essentially like that in a sense, right? The player is given the opportunity to sort of be the main character of the story. But fiction has always worked this way. And it's because of the way language works. Those of you who've done any writing at all, or really any reading at all, know that fiction has this ability to make us feel like the story is inside our heads and that we are immersed in it. It's a very immersive experience. It's very intimate, to put a story inside our readers' heads. The idea that the relationship between the hero of your story and the reader is paramount is something that impacts the choices we make as writers in a couple of ways. Is it clear to your reader who your hero is? That would be the first thing. Does your reader have a very clear sense of whose journey of transformation this is? Who's the central figure? What is the well from which the story is being drawn character-wise? And the second way that you might be thinking about this in your own writing is, are you using enough of an intimate, close point of view in your writing to give your reader the chance to go along for the ride with your hero? Are they part of it? Do they have that sense of, in a way, in a kind of energetic way, that the story is not so much about the hero as it is about them going on this journey with the hero? A close point of view is a technical thing, and it's a technical aspect of writing craft that you've got to learn how to do well. But are you doing it? If you don't know how to do it, then is it something that you're able to learn how to do, or you're willing to learn how to do? And if you do know how to do it, are you doing it enough? Are you staying close to your main character enough that the reader is going along for the ride with them? One of the other things that we do in writing craft to make sure that the relationship between the hero of our story and the reader is effective is we use a lot of sensory detail, because we want to create the experience for the reader of like an embodied dream. We call this the fictional dream. We want our reader to feel like they're really there, that the story is something that's happening to them. So this sense of connection between the hero and the reader is essential. All right. So that's one of the takeaways that I want you to get from Nike's little ad slogan. All right. Now, so far, we haven't even looked at the words. We've looked at just do it, but we haven't looked at any of the three words. We're looking at the implied listener. And I just want to point out that that's, part of the brilliance of this compressed little slogan is that it doesn't pretend that it's trying to sell you sneakers. It's just talking to you. It's absolutely just speaking to you very individually. It's very personal. There's something very personal about it. All right. So now let's start to talk about the words. The first word I want to talk about is do. Just do it. So the middle of the three. Now, those of you who are grammar whizzes or remember elementary school, know that do is the verb in the sentence, and the verb is what sort of describes the action, right? So we know who the subject of the sentence is. It's the listener. It's me. It's you. It's whoever's hearing it. And the verb is do. So whoever's doing the talking, whoever this storyteller is coming at us saying just do it, is exhorting us to do something. To do something. Doesn't say what, doesn't say how, but it says we must do whatever it is. So it's not saying just sit there. It's not saying just think about it. It's not saying just wait until you feel ready. It's saying just do it. So do is a very, very, intentional choice in the writing of this little masterpiece of story energy. So what do we writers take away from this word do? This is your second takeaway, storytellers. Your hero must be active. Active. All right? Now, we talk about the active hero versus the passive hero a lot. And I have recognized as a mentor and teacher how many writers struggle with this, even though they can recite, chapter and verse that the hero must be active. They know the hero must be active. And yet when they sit down to work, it's very, very difficult for them to really think in terms of an active hero. So why don't we define active just for a minute? It's not the same as busy, because we can stay very busy worrying and not taking action. We can stay very busy, I don't know, scrolling social media. Uh, I mean, it's not really what I would call taking action, is it? I mean, our fingers are active. Busyness is not the same as active. Worry and contemplation and internal debate and all of the things that we very neurotic 21st century people spend a lot of our energy doing is not really what we mean when we say the hero must be active. This hero must be purposeful. And I think that it sounds better to say the hero must be active rather than passive, because active and passive are just nice little opposite words. But I think that the word active might not be clear enough for many writers. They think that my hero's very busy. My hero's always worrying. My hero's always wondering what to do. My hero's always asking questions and asking other people to help them, but very busy doing all of these passive things. When we say an active hero, we mean purposeful, and we mean central, and we mean that the hero is got to be the one who's actually making the story move forward. It's as if the story has this sort of quality of being a ladder, and there are these rungs of achievement. The hero is the one climbing the ladder. The hero's not holding the ladder. It's the hero and the hero alone. The ladder can only hold one person, and the hero's the one doing it. So anyone who's got like a confusion about what this a notion of the active hero might mean, I would love for you to post something in the comments so that we can, help clarify that if you feel that it's not clear. But everything that Nike manages to compress into the simple word do, 2 letters, 1 syllable, it implies this sense of not busyness, but purposeful action, right? And that's the takeaway. Your hero must be active in this true sense, in this true purposeful sense. All right. So let's move on then, because that's our second takeaway. But I've introduced the word purposeful to the conversation, and that brings us to this other wonderful 1 syllable, 2 letter word packed with story energy, which is it. As we unravel the storytelling power of Nike's slogan, just do it. We talked about do, and now we're going to talk about it. So what is the it? Well, here's another sort of brilliant thing about this slogan. It's not just do. It's not go do something, right? It's not jump around and, get busy. It's do it. It. There's something that needs to be done. Now, just as this slogan addresses each of us in this like intimate individual way, making us the hero of this little story, it doesn't tell us what the it is that we're supposed to do. It leaves that up to us to inscribe. So if Nike tells me just do it, and I say, well, the it that I want to do is run a marathon, I need me a pair of really good sneakers to do that. And I'm on my way to the Nike store, right? That's what they want. But if one of us is encouraging another one of us and say, well, just do it, that could be any it. Like we each get to decide what that it is. Yes, do it. You want to apply to that college that you think you maybe won't be able to get into? It's your reach school. So what? Just do it. You want to go on a mad adventure that you've been thinking about for a long time, but you've been afraid to pull the trigger on, just do it. That's your it. Okay. So the thing about this it is that it's defined, it's really personal, and it's really, really specific. And so our takeaway from the word it is that the hero must have an it. There must be some kind of purpose, some motivation for their actions that is specific to them. They get to have their own it. So anytime we talk about a story in the Path of the Storyteller program, we use the term the mission to describe the it that this hero is just going to do, right? They've got an it. They've got a goal. It's Dorothy Gale trying to get to the Emerald City to meet the wizard so he can help her get home to Kansas. It's Bilbo Baggins trying to get to the mountain to meet the dragon so he can steal the gold. It's Meg Murray flying across the universe in A Wrinkle in Time so she could save her father. Like that's the it. It's really personal. And so all the activeness in the world is not going to, create this storytelling magic without the it. It's not just do anything. It's not just do random stuff. It's just do it. And you know what I'm talking about, says Nike. It's looking into your soul, this little slogan. It knows that you know what it means for you. It's going to be different than what it means to the person standing next to you. But for you, it means something really particular. So, my storytellers, how often in your own story structure, in your own writing, do you find yourself a little murky, a little fuzzy about what the it is for your hero? What is their mission for the entire story? And I just want to expand that, since I was talking a few minutes ago about making scenes, which actually sort of drills this down to the microcosm of each scene, each building block of storytelling. We want our heroes to have a mission for the entire book, but we also want them to have a goal for each scene. There must always be an it that the hero is doing. All right. That's a super important thing. So that's our third takeaway. And I want to point out, I'm just looking at my notes here, that a very busy hero with no purpose is really just as bad as a passive hero. All right. It's equally empty in terms of holding the story together. And it's your job as the writer to create both the hero and the it that they have to do. I mean, this is the essence of storytelling. All right. This is it. Now, that was the third takeaway. We've talked about do. We've talked about it. We've talked about the fact that the hero is necessary. There must be some subject to be accomplishing the verb. When Nike says just do it, they're implying that you are the hero of this little narrative, which is one of the reasons it's so powerful. And they're allowing you to inscribe whatever meaning to the word it you want to, which is another reason that it's so powerful. But the one word that we haven't talked about yet is just. So I'm sort of saving the first word for last, right? It's not do it. It's just do it. Now, I want to invite you just to think for a second yourselves the difference between those two little sentences. One of them is do it, and one of them is just do it. There's a kind of a shade of meaning added, right? By adding that little word just at the beginning. And to me, this is how I would describe that important shade of meaning. And it's sort of the magic that makes this 3 little word iconic ad slogan such a just bombshell of story energy. The just implies difficulty. It implies resistance, right? It implies that this, whatever it is, whatever it, the hero, has been contemplating doing is not easy to do. And so by adding the word just at the beginning, it just encapsulates this sense of, you've been thinking about it. You know that this is the thing that needs to be done. Just do it. Get over your resistance. Stop procrastinating. Believe in yourself. Now, my storytellers out there, my trained storytellers, are all nodding and they're going, oh my gosh, that just is the mentor energy part. And you are exactly right. What do we have in these 3 syllables? We have a hero who is actively in pursuit of a mission, but the mission is difficult. And mentor energy is required to get that hero started. And that's what's communicated in the word just. This, like, I know it's hard. Stop making excuses. It's time to begin. All of this, like, really essential energy that the mentors in storytelling provide to a story is encapsulated in that word just. It's so cool. So here's my 4th takeaway for you all, something that we can really remember and see how effective it is by looking at this little ad slogan, is that there must be obstacles all the way through. And there must be an ongoing sense that every time your hero is confronted with something new, it's another rung up the ladder. It's not just something that they can do. It's something that, just do it. It's something they have to rally themselves to attempt. This isn't just a string of doing this and doing that and doing this and doing that. It is doing the one thing, the it, and it is doing it against a kind of an ever-increasing sense that this is going to be hard, that I'm going to have to level up to deal with this thing, right? It's story structure all the way through. It's just amazing. So that was the 4th takeaway. Now, we've looked at just, we've looked at do, we've looked at it, we've looked at the kind of invisible hero who's the listener. Now, this slogan is attached to a brand, and the brand is attached to a certain type of product that's designed for a certain type of activity. It's about sports, right? It's about engaging in some kind of sporting activity. I think running shoes were probably the first thing. The 1980s was like a boom time in running. I know Nike probably makes a lot of other projects, but when you look at the totality of this message of just do it, and you see that it's got like all of story structure kind of baked in, there's this other quality that you can also see because of the association with the product itself, is that the brand is about achievement, right? It's not only about doing stuff, it's about doing this stuff that you didn't think you could do. And so the 5th takeaway that is sort of baked in that I want you to think about in your own writing is that there must be a sense, both a promise of and a delivery of transformation. Transformation. The person who wasn't doing it before becomes the person who can do it, and who becomes the person who did it, who achieved it, right? That's the promise of this three little word ad slogan. It's the implied promise. If you just do it, then you are no longer the person that you are today. You're not the person thinking about it anymore. You're the person who's doing it. And then you'll be the person who's done it. That's an identity shift. It's a transformation of consciousness. And so for you too, there must be this sense of transformation. It's your hero of your novel, whatever story you're writing, may not be an athlete. They may not be achieving, like being a champion at something at the end of the tale, but they are going to be different. They are going to be a character who has done whatever their it is. And in the doing of it, they've become a different person than they were at the beginning of your tale. That is truly the transformation of consciousness. All right. So isn't that a lot of story energy packed into one little slogan? It's just amazing. Now, I don't know if the person who came up with this, just do it, sat around thinking about all of this consciously. I would be impressed if they did. It may have been just a really good intuitive stroke. But if you just consider for a minute the implication of a hero, the identification of that hero with the reader, boom, that's our first takeaway. The message that this hero has to be active, has to be purposeful, that there's a task that needs to be accomplished. This isn't just about waiting for life to change. It's going to require effort. And that effort is purposeful, that there is an it that needs to be done, a goal that has clear parameters that you, the hero of this little tale, get to set for yourself. But it's not random. It's not just do anything. It's just do it. And then this notion that, and you know what? It's going to be really difficult. And that's why I'm telling you to do it. I'm giving you the mentor energy, that you're going to need to undertake this thing. I can see into your soul, this little slogan says, and I know you've been thinking about this. I know this is the dream of who you wish you could be. And I'm here to tell you that if you just strap on these shoes and do it, that journey of transformation is coming your way. Beautiful mentor energy. Gandalf couldn't have said it better, right? And then, like, just the promise that you will then be the person who's done it. You'll be that person who's done it. And you'll get to turn around and be a mentor to somebody else, which is what happens to heroes when they've already been through this journey. So that's what I've got for you today. I hope it's been of interest. I hope it makes you feel a little sporty and like doing a little something. Mostly, I hope that it helps you reflect on your own relationship to story structure. Because sometimes when we hear these ideas, when we learn these ideas, and they make so much sense when someone is talking about them, and we say, oh, well, Nike could do it in 3 words, but I have a 50,000 word manuscript that I don't think has as much story energy as those 3 words of Nike's. What am I doing wrong? Believe me, I know what that feels like. It can be harder to execute than it is. It will be, I should say. It's always harder to actually execute something than it is to just conceive of it in the abstract, or to just listen to someone else describe it and you just sort of follow along. And the solution, of course, is never, well, let me just write another 40,000 words and see what happens. Look at the amount of compression that it is possible if you only tell story, if you only ever tell story, if you truly understand that all you're ever delivering when you're telling a story, writing a novel, writing any kind of narrative, is this journey of transformation that centers on a hero who must be actively in pursuit of something, who's going to be different at the end than they are at the beginning, and that your reader has to feel like they've gone along for the ride, or it's not going to be satisfying. Like, that's all of it. That's the whole of it. And if you only put that on the page, you get just do it. You get just do it. That's not what you're here to do. You're here to write beautifully imagined stories. You're inventing worlds. You're inventing casts of characters. But this lesson of compression and really understanding that the story energy is your job. That's what it is your job to put on the page. It's not something you sprinkle on top afterwards. It's this constant pursuit of depicting exactly that hero whom your reader is deeply enmeshed with because of your good writing craft and the clarity of your stakes, right? Who is actively doing something that is really clear, that's got that quality of being the it, right? And as a consequence of doing it, they're going to be different at the end. That's all it is. I'm going to share this great comment that Anne just posted. Thank you so much for posting this, Anne. Just do it. She says, I don't think I can be reminded of this too often. So easy to just keep falling back into being passive. It's very easy. And it's not just you, Anne. I mean, there's no shortage of writers out there who are nodding their heads saying, yeah, I know. I do the same thing. The way we default sometimes to everything but storytelling, and the way we conceive of our heroes as being, passive is the right word, but I think that I've talked about this in another live stream, by the way. You can go look on the YouTube channel for it, about the dangers of the passive hero. But I think it largely has to do with us using our hero as a kind of a doppelganger, that we see our hero is, in a sense, as our means of telling the story, that we make them a kind of an observer of what's going on around them, and kind of as a way to depict it, like a little periscope, just looking around, taking it all in. Oh, look, there are characters over there saying things. Oh, there are characters over there saying things. Oh, look, there's a landscape I can describe. That we think of our hero as this stationary periscope, just kind of perceiving, so that we have a reason to keep talking, on the paper, to keep putting words down. Putting words down makes us feel good as writers. And so we're always seeking like an excuse or a crutch to help us put words down. So if we think of our hero as this like little observing periscope, we can put a lot of words down. But that's not the hero's job. We have to cut that umbilical cord. That the hero is not that. The hero is truly the active participant. We are the periscope. We are the observing force. We have to like put space between ourselves as writers and the protagonist of our books. And so many writers are like somewhat enmeshed with the protagonist. Like they just look at the protagonist as this little extension of themselves. It's a very common thing to do, especially early on in your career. You've got to, break yourself of that habit. You are the boss of your book. The hero is this central figure who's going to go on this arduous journey. And you can love your hero. I love all the protagonists of my books, but you can't love them so much that you don't put them on an arduous journey of transformation filled with obstacles. At every step of the way, they're going to want something, and it's going to be so hard for them to get it. There's just always going to be stuff in the way. And as soon as they deal with that thing, there's going to be a new obstacle, and it's going to be worse than the last one. That's how we have to treat our heroes. So if you are, as Anne just shared, find yourself often defaulting to a hero who's just kind of like floating in the middle of a lot of language, I really want you to think about this. You have to like break up with your hero in a sense, like stop using them as a crutch to get words on the page. Instead, start scheming and planning what they want. What's their it? What is the thing that they have to just do? And start putting that down, depicting that in vivid language, sensory detail, and close point of view. Why? So that your reader feels that they too are going along for the ride. You see how these useful lessons from this little phrase, it really is like a whole little crash course in how to write fiction. It really is. Nancy, thanks for posting. Nancy says, I can totally relate. Yeah. It comes up all the time. It really does. So maybe If we all just had the right writing shoes, we could dash to the finish line actively with purpose, with clear missions, and a goal in every scene. That would be really wonderful. If anyone else has questions or comments, this would be a great time to leave them as we wrap up. I'm happy to answer if I see anything pop up. I'm going to just use the moment as you collect your thoughts to remind anyone that wants to pop into this Making Scenes course. You can get in there anytime. Just go to that link. You can enroll now, and you will get the Zoom link to join us tomorrow for a live Q&A. It will be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And when I say tomorrow, I mean Thursday, October 13th, because I'm recording this on Wednesday. Okay, we'd love to have you. And it's going to be a really fun conversation, I think. All righty. We're going to wrap up with Katie's comment. I really appreciate this. Katie says, this is 100% what I needed today. I am glad. I thank you for your enthusiasm and for being here. Thank you, everyone who's here participating live. If you're watching the replay, I hope it's exactly what you needed today, too. I hope you feel the same way Katie does. I also hope that you'll subscribe to the channel, give the content a thumbs up if it was a benefit. Look in the playlist about story structure for some other videos that can be helpful on this topic, especially the one about passive heroes. I think that's going to be of use to many of you. Okay, so I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow at the live Q&A for Making Scenes, and the rest of you, I wish you a wonderful rest of the week. Happy writing, and I look forward to seeing you next time.